In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to program your heat transfer calculator. So I gave you this template on Google Classroom, so I'm going to take a minute or so explaining how this program or how the template is designed to work. Now it's already formatted, so I already created all like the boxes, the cells that are going to be there, but everything is blank. So it's going to be for you to type in the values and create the calculation so that this works. So let's talk about how this is intended to be done. In this area over here, in this box, this is going to be your mediums. So, your mediums are your different areas where heat can transfer through. So a medium might be a wall, a window, a door, a floor, a roof. And those are generally the common ones. And within each medium, there might be different layers within that. So, for example, a standard wall is going to have siding, and then plywood, and then insulation, and then, sheetrock or something. And then, remember, we also had that inside air film as well. And we know that for each layer, we have an associated R value for them, and then the total R value for the entire medium is the sum of the individual R values for each layer. So, for example, if siding had an R value of 2, and then the plywood had an insulation of 3, and then the insulation had an total R value of like 12, and then the wallboard was, 2, and then the inside air film is 0.68. We'll just make it 1 for ease of calculations. Each layer's total R value added together is the total R value for that medium. So that's 5 plus 7, 17, 18, what's that, 20? Boom. However, this program, as is, wouldn't really be that helpful if you ever had to make changes. So what we want to do is we want to create calculators within this to do the math for us. And if you remember in class, R values could come in one of two ways. It could be an R value per unit or an R value per inch. And if it's an R value per inch, you multiply it by the thickness to get the total R value for that layer. If it's an R value per unit, it's just a standard one-size-fits-all R value for that material. However, it's kind of hard to program a Excel file or a Google Sheets file that would be able to decipher between per unit or per inch. So our workaround for that is we are going to have everything be R value per inch. And then, if it's actually an R value per unit, we're just going to make the thickness 1. Because what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the R value per inch here, multiply by the thickness here, to give us the R value for that layer. So even if this is an R value per unit, so say inside air film, if we make the thickness 1, we're not manipulating or changing anything. So it's just kind of a little bit of a workaround. So in my R value right here, I'm going to have this cell be equal to this cell, I7 times J7. And then I'm going to do the same thing for everything going down. But I don't want to type it in for every single one. That would get a little tedious, right? So we talked about in class how you could highlight a cell, click on a cell, then go to the bottom right so it turns from a white pointer to a white hand. Nope, I want the black cross. And once you have the black cross, you can click, hold, and drag it down. I went down, one too many, so I'm going to just do that again. Good. Now each of these cells is multiplying these two respective cells. Then the total R value is going to be equal to the sum of all of these. Or you could have done equals this plus this plus this plus this, but the sum is a little bit easier. Great. And that would give you the total R value for that medium. Okay. I have a little area calculator over here, although this only works if you're given a length times a width. So we'll just go ahead and make this area equal this cell times that cell, although I will get back to that a little bit later. Okay, so that'll now cover everything for medium 1. But typically, if say medium 1 was designated as the wall, we have multiple mediums. We have, like we said before, we have windows and doors and roofs and everything. So if I want to get the total Q value for the entire building, I need to do multiple mediums, usually up to 5 in this class. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to highlight all of that and then hit Control C. And then over here, I'm going to hit Control V to paste it. And I'm going to rename that to medium 2. Then I'm going to do medium 3, medium 4, and medium 5. And I'm going to go ahead and change the number right here to be reflective of which calculator it is. Okay. So now, and notice how it also copied down the logic for your calculation so far. Let's go over to temperature difference. Now, there's only one temperature difference for every medium, so we don't need to copy this multiple times. But we're going to have the delta T be equal to the outside minus the inside. And one thing to note is the way you notice this is very colorful, very pretty. You're welcome. You should note that I created a little legend over here. So any cell that's yellow is going to be where you, as the user, type in a value. No calculations are ever in the yellow. That's where you're typing in the name of something or the number of something. You're using those inputs to get an output from your, what do you usually call this, orange? Yeah, it's some kind of orange, I guess. So every time you see a little orange cell, that's where you're going to have equals blah, blah, blah. Like that's where your actual calculators go. The blue is a reference cell. So over here we have our blue cells. These are going to be extracting information from elsewhere in the program. So for example, medium 1, to get the Q prime, or to get the heat transfer through medium 1, I'm going to do area, which is going to be the area of medium 1 right here, the R value for medium 1 right here, and the delta T, which would obviously be the same delta T for everything, and then that's where I'm referencing them. And then finally, our final answer is typically going to be, hey, what's the total heat transfer through the entire building? And that's going to be the sum of the heat transfer through individual mediums. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and start adding a little bit more equal stuff. Okay, so for medium 1, the area for medium 1 is going to be equal to this cell right here. And the R value for medium 1 is going to be equal to this value right here. And delta T is going to be equal to this value right here. Now, you might be tempted to say, oh, let's copy it all down. But that's not really going to work because, well, let's just see what happens when it does. We have O9, K14, E20. If you highlight them and then copy it down, oh, what happened? Nothing happened. Actually, it did. But it just assumes that you want to go one lower because this is one lower than this cell. So it's just saying, okay, well, you want me to drop everything down by 1. So instead of O9, we have O10, K14, K15, E20, E21. That's not what I want. So you will have to manually find the cell. So the area of medium 2 is going to be this cell over here. The R is going to be this cell over here. And delta T is going to be the same. So you can either have this be equal to this cell again, or you can actually have it be equal to this cell right here because they're all referencing the same original cell. Okay. Medium 3. The A is over here. The R value is right here. And the A is, you can either reference this cell, or this cell. I think I might be able to copy it down now, because now you've established the spacing in between them. So it might think, okay, 023, 037. So it's like, oh, okay, you want me to drop down 14 cells or whatever. And over here in this column, you're dropping down, I guess, also 14 cells. And over here, we're dropping down 1 cell. I think that this should work. So you have to highlight both of them now to establish the gap in between. And this only works also because, well, let's see if it works. Nope, did not work. Why, though? 023. Well, I tried. So completely disregard everything I just said. That does work on Microsoft Excel. I don't know why that wouldn't work here. That's awkward. Anyway, area 4 right here, and then area 5 right here, and then R4. No, it says autofill. Nah, I'm not gonna take their word for it. You've already made me a fool once, sheets. Okay, so now these cells didn't actually calculate anything. They just extracted information from other parts of this program for ease of convenience. And then the Q value for each individual layer is going to be equal to area times delta T divided by R. Boom. And we have a little error message because we are dividing by D7, which is currently 0, and dividing by 0 gives you undefined. But that's okay. And now I can copy this down because we're just dropping down 1 for each. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to add logic to get rid of these error messages. But for now, we just want to have the program functioning. And then the last step, so before we go to the last step, each of these values right here, this is telling you what the heat transfer is per hour through each of these following mediums. And then finally, the total heat transfer of everything is going to be equal to the sum of these values right here. Okay, so I have about 2 minutes left in this video. Let's kind of quickly throw in some numbers. Let's say it's 90 outside and 70 inside. Delta T is 20. Notice how now everything is 20 over here. Just add completely random gibberish over here. Complete, like, nothingness. Boom. So it does length times width for the area. The R value right here gets brought in here. Delta T is brought in over here. And we have that. Now, we still have an error message over here. That's okay for now. The next video, we're going to get rid of the error message. And then we'll just do one more layer for the completion. As now, this program will only work when you have all 5 mediums with information typed in because it can't handle an error message. Blah, blah, blah. And that pretty much concludes it for this one. The other thing that I wanted to mention was for the area. Sometimes area is not going to be calculated by length times width. Maybe you'll be given an area, or maybe it's more complicated, like a wall where it's length times width, but then you have to subtract out the area that is a window or a door or something. So sometimes this won't work. If you have to just get the total square footage in another way, I would just say, like, okay, maybe I figure out the total square footage of the wall area is this, but then I have to subtract out a window and a door, and in total it's 1100. I would not type in 1100 here. I wouldn't do that. I would type in 1100 here, and then I would just put a 1 here to not mess with the calculator. But again, it's not always going to be length times width for how you calculate the area. It might be a different roundabout way or directly given to you. Okay, that concludes this video. In the next one, we're going to add logic to get rid of the error messages and these unwanted zeros.